What's happening, everybody, on this Friday, Friday the 13th. Okay, well, that's good because we've got a horrifying story for you guys today about New York City. Also, 2 terrorist attacks yesterday. That makes 4 in 2 weeks. Perhaps we will break the record here in New York, here around the country, as it seems like ISIS-inspired terrorist attacks or Iranian-inspired terrorist attacks, or whatever the hell it is you want to call it, have been taking over America. Also, as I said, a nightmare scenario for New York, as we are set to lose $1 trillion because of one policy put forth by one idiot. Really wild. This is one of those moments that I don't want to say, I told you so, but perhaps, just thinking about it, maybe this could be a sign for the rest of America that maybe you don't want to elect idiots like Zohran Mamdani. Also, we got an update from the Charlie Kirk case. Cameras will be allowed in the courtroom as the trial is set to begin on April 17th. We will bring you guys all of that. And look, guys, I know this means a lot to you. I know how much you're affected by this. But just know that the Oscars have heightened security because of threats from Iran. I guess we really have to make sure we protect Conan O'Brien and the rest of the useless people that are going to be the Oscars, like Sean Penn, who Bill Maher made fun of to his face for being a Damas, as the French would say. But before we get started, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We've got heartbreaking news today about my beloved New York City. But if you guys are watching, please do me a favor. Judicial Watch has put forth a petition to get Ilhan Omar investigated. If you guys wouldn't mind clicking that link in the very top, just add your email to Judicial Watch. It really does help me out. They're looking to put together a petition to, boot Ilhan Omar from Congress for her many misgivings. So, guys, do me a favor. Just click that link right there. Oh, where are we? Right there. There we go. Right there at the very top. It really does help me out. I would appreciate it. Thank you all so much. So, let's start with Kami Mamdani. Let's start with Mayor Mamdani, because he has put forth a plethora of Damas policies, whether it's a $30 minimum wage that no small business can afford, whether it's making the buses fast and free, which he still hasn't done. In fact, they've gone up in price. And they're still not fast because it turns out no human being can make traffic in New York City go away. He's proposed raising property taxes in New York City if Kathy Hochul does not just shell out money from upstate New York and Long Island to fund all of his nonsense. All of these are insane. And we're not even getting into the fact that he, can't call out the obvious jihadist terrorist attack that happened on his block. Put that aside. He has put forth one of, if not the most insane policy I have ever seen. And because of it, New York is set to lose $1 trillion in wealth. $1 trillion. So, for a while now in America, there has been something called the death tax. You guys will remember that from the Tea Party wave. It's basically what tax your children have to pay when you leave them when you die. Normally, it goes to the ultra wealthy. It'll go to like Elon and his 275 kids, or however many he has now, or the Bezos, or the top-notch people in America. But Zohran has decided, Zoltan has decided that he's going to up the ante a little bit. Let's break this down for everybody, shall we? He has suggested that we change the estate tax in New York City. See, right now, if you die in New York City, you are allowed to leave your children $7.1 million tax-free. Now, I would say you've worked your ass off your entire life. You've built a life. You should be able to leave your kids everything that you sacrificed for free. But we don't live in that, realistic society. $7.1 million you can leave each one of your children. So we're going to work out an example here. We're going to, right now in New York, if you die and you have one child, and your net worth is $7.5 million, that final $400,000, is taxed at 16%. Now, that's ridiculous, but it is what it is. $7.7 million to leave your kids, that's a lot of money, let's be honest here. It is. It's a lot of money. Okay, so, it is what it is. Zoltan has decided to really go after the 1% in New York City, the 1%, the top 1%, the 133 billionaires we have living here in New York City, because that's all there is. I know people think that, New York and California just grows billionaires on trees, the way we grow apples upstate, or whatever the hell it is they grow in California, grapes on Gavin Newsom's farm. Zoltan has decided that, no, 7.1 million is not good enough. And that still leaves out the top 5, top 10%. So what he has decided to do is propose a new estate tax, a new wealth tax, a new death tax of $750,000 is now the cap that is tax-free. Which means, and I mean this in no uncertain terms, everyone in New York City, not Manhattan, not just Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, who owns a home, will have to pay a tax when they die. Let's put this into perspective for you, right? Right now, over $7.1 million, there's going to be a lot of numbers today. Over $7.1 million is taxed at 16%. Zoltan, has decided that, no, that's not good enough anymore. Now we're going to tax everything over $750,000 at 50%. Which means, I'm going to give you guys a little hint here, okay? A little picture. You own a house worth $1 million. You die. In order for your children to keep that house, they have to pay the city of New York $125,000. Now, they may not have that money because the home is worth $1 million. So I guess Zoltan is going to want you to, give the city of New York your kitchen or your bathroom. Every person in New York City will be taxed on this. Another little nugget, find this one interesting. He's also proposed putting parking meters in front of everyone's house. Not in front of the World Trade Center, not on 7th Avenue, not where you go shopping, not in front of the Gucci store, but in front of residential neighborhoods that only last 8 hours. Which means, if you want to park in front of your own home, you have to wake up in the middle of the night to feed the parking meter in front of your own house. And guess what? Both of these are going to pass. Both of these are going to pass. But, look, the dirty little secret about American politics and American tax policy is that the rich don't pay their fair share. You're right, they don't. They pay actually exceedingly more than their fair share. Like way more than their fair share. Because of the because of the preposterous tax policies we have in many blue cities. So I want you to imagine this. We have 133 billionaires in New York City. 133 billionaires who can walk in to Wells Fargo, who can walk into Morgan Stanley, who can walk into Chase, who can walk into Goldman, who can walk into Deutsche and get help immediately. Not you. I'm talking about the Bill Ackmans. I'm talking about the Megadone. I'm talking about the mega rich. What do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do? You think they're just going to go, well, fine, here's $200 million for no reason whatsoever. No. As Patrick Bet-David and the BizDoc break down exactly what's happening, not what's going to happen, what's happening right now in New York City, because with 133 billionaires, you don't think they know the president at Deutsche Bank, the president at Goldman Sachs, the president at JP? You don't think they know Jamie Dimon? You don't think they know the top people and can call them when they have intergenerational wealth, when they have billions in generational? You don't think they can just call up their tax advisor or their financial planner and go, okay, we're about to be taxed $50 million. Imagine this. Imagine Imagine you're in the hospital. Your dad, who built a business in finance or in the meatpacking district, or started a restaurant, and he's got a lot of money. And you're sitting there at the bed, life support, little thing pumping, tube in, all that. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, holy shit, when we pull the plug on Dad, I'm going to have to spend $100 million. It's going to cost me X amount of money when Dad dies. Do you think that the uber rich, that the aggressively wealthy, that the over-the-top people are just going to let that fly? Or do you think they're going to do this?
Something that's good. That's the difference between you getting, give me the number if it's a $2 billion family and you got 4 kids, and the 4 kids, the father's 75 years old, and the 4 kids know that $2 billion is going to go to them. How much is it? How much is the cost for each of the kids?
$125 million.
Exactly. $125 billion. So let me ask you, you're the kid. What are you doing? Hey, Dad.
I want that 125.
Dad, Florida is awesome right now.
Vinny, we have to protect ourselves. I mean, we have to protect Dad. We got to protect
We got to get him to Florida.
Oh, my gosh.
It's too cold in New York.
And by the way, let me ask, so who else is on the kids' teams? Who else is on the team of kids? Who else is saying you got to leave New York?
The wives?
The wives and the...
Not the wives.
The family office
The
advisors.
financial advisors.
Yeah, the advisors,
investment bankers. The insurance guys. All of these guys are saying, you guys got to get the hell out of here. So this guy that's by himself, look who is around him, the $2.2 billion guy, the $4.8 billion guy, the family, the kids, the advisors all are saying, let's have a meeting. This is happening. If this gets done, recommendation, move to Tennessee or move to Miami or move to Palm Beach. But you have to leave the state. Don't you think that? And by the way, guess who else is thinking about this right now? If this is real, guess who else is sitting there saying, what are we going to do? You know who else? You don't think David Solomon is paying attention to this? You don't think Jamie Dimon is sitting there in their offices coaching and challenging their advisors on how to talk to their clients? You don't think the boardroom of all these firms that are managing money, that have $8.3 trillion of money under management, $2.8 trillion of money under management, you don't think these guys are saying, hey, we have to advise our clients to leave? Because those guys don't have money that they get for 5, 10 years. When they get family money, they're getting that family money for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And it's blocks of money. So if I'm running Goldman, or if I'm running Morgan Stanley or Merrill, or if I'm running any of these big firms, I'm sitting there today, I'm talking to my analysts, and guess what I'm asking them? Guys, can you run a report of the $8.3 trillion of wealth that we have? How much of it is concentrated in New York City? Boss, we just ran it. It's right around $320 billion of wealth that we have in New York City. We need to have a meeting, a family office meeting, emergency meeting with all our clients in New York City and let them know exactly what the results are going to be with recommendation. If I'm running one of these banks, I'm hosting a meeting at a nice property in Gurney, in whatever you want to call it, and they'll come in private meeting, and I'm going to say, guys, if you're wondering, you've already talked to your tax people, you've already talked to your estate planners, here's what's going on. We brought an economist, we brought a CPA, we brought our team that's this, we brought our chief information officer, we brought our chief investment officer. Here's what you're going to be looking at. Boom, 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 boom. Solution, a lot of you guys are probably wondering, these are 7 things that our clients are doing right now that we're recommending them to consider. 1, move here. 2, get this. 3, you don't think they're having that conversation?
100%.
They are. You know what the funny punchline is?
What's that?
Wells Fargo says, Vinny, you need to be there because us here at Wells Fargo Ultra High Net Worth Advisors are going to hold a meeting. And you say, in Napa as usual? No. We're in Palm Beach now. We moved in the spring of 2026. Wells Fargo moved all of our wealth guys to Palm Beach. So come on down. We're on Worth Avenue. It'll be great. That's where we're meeting.
Wow.
That's right. Wells Fargo has already left. Don't worry. No big deal. That's not jobs. That's not unbelievably high-paying jobs. No. Come on. Silly goose. Nobody's going to leave. Nobody's going to go to half of them have houses in Palm Beach to begin with. So what the hell's the difference? We just open up another building down on Worth Avenue, as the BizDoc says. You don't think that's going to happen in Nashville? In Raleigh? And I want to be clear about something for the people who aren't from New York. I tried to explain this to somebody on a show the other day. They see New York as this, like, sprawling metropolis. New Jersey is on the other side of the Hudson River. It's like a quarter of a mile away. You don't have to uproot yourself and move to Florida. You can move to the other side of the Holland Tunnel and avoid these taxes. Nobody's going to leave. Nobody. Look, maybe they all won't leave, all 133 of them. Maybe they're not all getting together and they're all getting U-Haul vans and they're all saying, we are getting the hell out of here. If half of them leave. Somebody ran out. There was an accountant a while ago when Giancarlo Stanton signed with the New York Yankees. Now, Giancarlo Stanton I think he made like $350 million when he signed with the Yankees. An absurd amount of money, of course, especially because he can't stay healthy, but that's not the point. Some tax advisor ran, and they called into, I think it was Boomer and Carton at the time. They called into Sports Talk Radio, and they were saying that Giancarlo Stanton, in what he pays in city taxes on his own, funds like 17 teachers. So if the Yankees traded Giancarlo Stanton right now, they would lose the salaries of like 17 New York City teachers. He is not even considered ultra wealthy. Think about it. Every New York City baseball team has, 25 players on it? That's 50. They're all making in the high tens of millions of dollars. That's like pennies compared to what the firms are making that's handling the money. When you see companies like Morgan Stanley, like Merrill Lynch, that has trillions under asset management. New York might lose $1 trillion. Trillion with a T because of one policy. One bad idea. It is not difficult to demonize the rich. Guess what? My life doesn't suck because Jamie Dimon has a lot of money. It doesn't. It's just jealousy. It is telling the 7 million people who live here in New York that these 333 people are the problem. When they aren't, they're the ones fixing the problem. They're the ones correcting the problem. They're the ones paying for all the crap that Zoran Zoltan wants to put forth, like his free child care program for illegal immigrants, which is just going to attract more illegals. Why is this so frustrating? Because it's not opinion policy. You want to be pro-choice? Go right ahead. You think that Americans shouldn't have as many guns as they... Okay, fine. You're wrong, but all right, whatever. This is math. It's addition and subtraction. Math is universal. It's the only worldwide language. And this has never worked anywhere. But blue-haired fat lesbians decided to themselves, well, this sounds pretty good because my life sucks and their life is good. So therefore, if I take from them, my life will be better. The only problem is all of those guys are going to leave. All of them are going to leave. Even the relatively high net worth individuals, like I mentioned, the Giancarlo Stanton, the Juan Soto, the Garrett Cole. Does Garrett Cole still pitch for the Yankees? I don't know. The high income earners, they're just going to move to Long Island or Westchester or New Jersey. Because there are high net worth individuals in New York who can't leave. The athletes, for one. They're just going to move out of the boroughs. And then that tax base is gone. But that's not who this is going to affect. Jamie Dimon will figure it out. It's going to affect every person who owns a home in New York City. And it's going to affect every person in the state of New York because Kathy Hochul, Governor Eyebrows, is going to bow to this. So if you live in Syracuse or Rochester or Buffalo or Smithtown or Brockport, you're going to pay for this. You didn't vote for this guy. You knew he was bad news. You knew that Curtis Lee didn't stand a snowball's chance in hell of winning. And maybe we should have stuck with the guy who kind of sucks rather than the legitimate devil who decided to have some weirdo Muslim call to prayer in the middle of the damn city hall with the carpets and the no forks and all that shit. You knew that was going to happen. But 22-year-old art students from NYU decided, no, this will be a good idea. You're all going to pay for it. And if you're one of the people watching this show who doesn't get to vote in New York anymore because you had the opportunity to get the hell out of here, I'm jealous of you. Because right now, not only is it still freezing outside, while I see my friends frolicking about in the panhandle of Florida in their pool dodging alligators, this is empire destroying. Because when they set up a new Wall Street in Palm Beach, in Nashville, in Dallas, it's never coming back. Michael Bloomberg sucked. Bill de Blasio sucked. This is a whole new level. A whole new level. And we haven't even gotten to the part yet where Zoran Mamdani and his wife may or may not be legitimate terrorists. Like actual terrorists. Like they see a terrorist and they're like, ooh, yay, I like that. We haven't even gotten to that. Don't worry, there's not a Daily Reminder with a giant hole in Lower Manhattan. Still hasn't called out the two jihadists who tried to blow up Jake Lang. Whatever you think about Jake, not really the point. You don't get to throw IEDs or on the east side of New York. We're not in Beirut. Still hasn't found a way to call that out yet. Still hasn't found a way to muster the courage up yet. Of course, those were just the first two terrorist attacks this month in America. Sadly, some lunatic decided to drive his car into a synagogue, and then some guy, some former National Guardsman named, I bet you can guess, I bet you could roll the dice and figure out what his name was, who did 7 years in jail for providing material support to ISIS, was let out early and then shot up a college in Virginia. What? Okay, there's so many parts of this story we're going to break down that along the way, this could have been stopped with basic, whether it's the light prison sentence, the getting out of jail early, the not immediately deporting this person, the once he was out, rescind his citizenship and send him back from whence he came. And if you think any of this is a problem, you're the problem. We'll get back to that in 1 minute. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. If you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not going to lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body, to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmra.com/LFATV. Order now.
Guys, head on over to tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. That's tryarmor.com and use promo code LFATV. Once again, guys, if you have not yet, please do sign the petition that is in the comments of all, wherever the hell it is you're watching, whether you're watching on Facebook, watching on Rumble, watching on wherever the hell it is you're watching. If you're watching on the LFA chat, it is pinned to the very top of the comment section. You can see it right there. Judicial Watch is setting up an investigation of Ilhan Omar because she's a criminal. That's not an opinion. That's an objective fact. So support Judicial Watch, guys. Head on over there. Just all I need is your name and your email. It really does help out the show. We really do appreciate it. So go support Judicial Watch and we can get rid of one of these people. I didn't mean it like that. Maybe I did. I don't know. Whatever. So, another day. Another couple terrorist attacks here in America. No big deal. It's just something we have to live with now. Whether it's a guy shooting up a bar in Austin wearing a shirt that says property of Allah, or whether it's two guys who apparently lived in the lap of luxury in Newtown, Pennsylvania, who decided to drive to New York City on a beautiful, warm day and throw improvised explosive devices in front of a crowd, or some guy from Lebanon who's kind of pissed off that Israel apparently blew up his family, so he decided to drive his car into a synagogue in Michigan.
Body is badly burned. He was killed by armed security. Bill is told that he rammed the car into the building, had a rifle, got into a shootout with security who killed him. The car was on fire inside, and that would obviously be the source of the smoke coming out of that building. So it would appear now that the immediate threat to the synagogue is over, but now we're dealing with the aftermath of making sure that that fire gets out, clearing the smoke from the building, and then trying to piece together how this all went down, Darren.
Right. An inflammatory device inside is more than likely the cause of why this individual burned up. It appears to me that this was a suicide mission that the assailant was on. And fortunately, we had the appropriate security that was able to neutralize him. In the earlier part of the segment, I heard mention as it relates to good guys with guns. This is where the Second Amendment is supported. We need to have good people that have the appropriate background checks and training to ensure that we have a safe and tranquil society. It's a shame that it's gotten to this point, but at the same token, it has gotten to this point. So by being at this point, what do we do to create the necessary fortifications? What you look at on your screen right now is where it came to fruition, and this is how it works when we have good guys with guns protecting us as an innocent society.
Now, Darren Porcher, I like you. We're friends. But no, it's not about fortifying soft targets because there was an armed security guard at this synagogue. Maybe, I don't know, I'm going to roll the dice here. Maybe we start denaturalizing lunatics. I don't know. Let's dive into the story here. Let's see what we got here. There we go. Here it is. From the Post-Millennial. Suspect in the Michigan synagogue ID'd as Lebanese immigrant Ayman Ghazaleh. Yep, not even close. Not even remotely close. I'm just not going to, that's not a name. That's not a name. The active shooting incident that took place at the synagogue in West Bloomfield, Michigan on Wednesday. A large police presence was seen at the Temple Israel, as well as smoke coming from the building. The gunman was reportedly shot by the armed security guard at the building and has been identified as Amin, not even going to attempt his last name, who's originally from Lebanon but became a naturalized citizen. Well, just think, guys. Just think. If we didn't let this guy from Lebanon into the country in the first place in order to become nationalized, I guess the Statue of Liberty would have cried. We would have had to give it back to the French or something. Or maybe we could have just not done that at all. But some of us who have been yelling about this for the last decade got called all sorts of names and got put on all sorts of lists and didn't really give a shit when it happened. According to the Department of Homeland Security, which still isn't funded, by the way, he was born in Lebanon and came to the United States in 2011. I guess the old Deporter-in-Chief Barack Obama must have missed that one. The tragic attack on the Temple Israel Synagogue in West Bloomfield was carried out by, Amin Muhammad. I'm not going to even say his last name. I'm not even going to try this last name. I'm not even going to attempt it. He was born in Lebanon, entered the United States at Detroit International Airport on an IR-1 visa as the spouse of a U.S. citizen after alien relative and his fiancée petition filed in 2009 was approved in 2010. He applied for naturalization in 2015 and was granted U.S. citizenship under the Obama administration. Oh, couldn't have called that one. Couldn't have called that one from Fox News. From Bill Malugin over at Fox. I'm told by a law enforcement source that the suspected shooter at the Michigan synagogue was armed with a rifle, rammed his car into the building, and was killed with during a shootout with armed security. I'm told the vehicle then caught on fire and the suspect's body was burned. He later reported that the vehicle used in the attack was registered to a naturalized citizen from Lebanon who lives in Dearborn, Michigan. You know, that's the place whose police logo was changed to Arabic. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. But of course, I would love to continue to talk about this. But we've got to talk about another terrorist attack that happened yesterday. Because apparently, these are it's like the rain. It's like terrorist attacks in America are like rain in Florida. If you just wait a little while, it'll happen. And we're just supposed to live in this sort of a setup. The Old Dominion shooter, Mohammed Jalloh, shouted, what did he yell? Of course you know what he yelled. Right as he opened fire at Old Dominion University. That's right, the dead Old Dominion shooter, Mohammed Jalloh, shouted, drum roll please. Chat, why don't you let everyone know what he yelled? Because you don't even have to tell you. Right before he opened fire on a bunch of students. He was previously convicted and sentenced for the crime of attempting to give ISIS material support. The FBI confirmed that this guy shouted the phrase right before firing the gun. You know what he said, because it's what they all say right before. FBI authorities also called the shooting an act of terrorism. After he fatally shot an instructor in the classroom where the attack was carried out, he was fatally stabbed by a student at the ROTC program at the school. FBI Director Kash Patel said a joint terrorism task force is fully engaged, embedded with local authorities, and providing all resources necessary. The shooter is now deceased thanks to the group of brave students who stepped in to subdue him. Actions that undoubtedly saved lives with the quick response. Here comes the nugget. Here comes the crux. Here comes the whole point of this. This guy was sentenced to 11 years in prison, as well as 5 years probation in 2017. Oh, 2017, 11 years in prison. Hold on. Yeah, that math doesn't add up for attempting to provide material support to ISIS. He only spent 7 years behind bars. He had previously attempted to provide services by assisting the procurement of weapons to be used in what he believed was going to be an attack on American soil committed in the name of ISIL. That's like the backup to ISIS. That's the Islamic State in Libya. Thank you, Hillary Clinton. But my question is, okay, so let's break this down here, because I know I'm just a simple MAGA extremist here, and I don't live in the real world, so let me break this down real quick. So a naturalized American citizen, not somebody who was born here, is arrested, tried, convicted of attempting to provide material support to an international terrorist organization. He doesn't get life in prison. No. He is then let out of jail early. He is then not deported, and then is able to buy a gun. So let me get this straight. I've been waiting 3 years to get my handgun permit in the state of New York. My handgun permit. Must have missed that part of the Second Amendment. But this guy can attempt to help a terrorist organization and still purchase a gun and shoot up a college. I'm not saying I have the answers here for what's right or what's wrong, but something here don't match, okay? There's a yin where there should be a yang. Somebody zigged where they should have zagged. Now it turns out that the guy who gave him the gun, his name is Kenyon Chapman of Hampton, Virginia, has been charged with making false statements to investigators about providing the weapon to this lunatic.
News from the Department of Justice charging a person who allegedly sold the gun to Mohammed Jalal, the man who the FBI says carried out the shooting at Old Dominion that we gave you so many details on a short time ago. We know that when he went into that room, that ROTC training room, he shouted Allah Akbar. He's a former National Guard member who was radicalized listening to al-Qaeda leader speeches online. Let's go back to Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel with more on this from Norfolk, Virginia. Hi, Mike.
Yeah, hi, Martha. A man has been charged with providing the weapon used in the Old Dominion University shooting yesterday. The name is Kenyon Chapman of Hampton, Virginia, charged with making false statements to investigators about providing the weapon to Mohammed Jalal. The .22 caliber weapon, authorities say, was stolen about a year ago and sold to Mohammed Jalal for $100 in the past week. Jalal, as a convicted felon, is not allowed to possess or own a firearm. And so clearly when investigators were talking to this man, got caught up recognizing he had sold the firearm to Mohammed Jalal, which was used in a terror attack here at Old Dominion University. And so charges filed against Kenya Chapman of Hampton, Virginia, charged with making false statements to investigators about providing that weapon to Mohammed Jallow. The suspect in this case, the person who's been charged, saying he never thought that Mohammed Jallow would use it to commit a crime. Martha?
All right.
He never thought he would use it to commit a crime. The guy just got out of jail for attempting to provide weapons to ISIS. He must have been reformed while he was in prison, because, you know, that's what prison does. As a matter of fact, the judge who let Jallow, thank you Fox News for telling me how to pronounce that ridiculous name, reduced the sentence for the 2017 terrorist conviction, citing his terrible upbringing and the good things that he had done while he was in prison. You ready for this one? Oh, yeah. Mohammed Jallow, who had been identified by the FBI as the shooter responsible for the killing of one person and injuring two at Old Dominion University, was sentenced to 11 years in prison for attempting to provide material support to a terrorist organization. Overseeing the case was since retired Liam O'Grady of the Eastern District of Virginia, who was appointed in 2007 by then George W. Bush. So, just remember, everyone, when you try to compare, like, the new right, whatever the hell you want to call this MAGA movement, and the sort of neocon right from the past, it's people like this that we're talking about. At Jallow's February 2017 sentencing hearing, O'Grady told the defendant that the sentencing decision should reflect the good things you have done as well as the horrendous. The federal government sought 20 years in prison, which seems to be like half of what they should have gotten. But O'Grady said before delivering the sentence that you had a terrible upbringing and you were able to overcome that and come here and become a naturalized citizen and go to college. Oh, he went to college. Oh, really? Any idiot can get into college. And then you took a 90-degree turn and radicalized very quickly. Oh, right. So he was able to go to college and he was able to work. And then somewhere along the way, he turned a little bit and became a terrorist. So what happened at that 45-degree angle? Liam O'Grady? Dipshit? This next sentence is fun from the quote. You ready for this? We're going to read that whole paragraph over again. You had a terrible upbringing, and you were able to overcome that and come here and become a naturalized citizen and go to college and go to work and join the National Guard. And then you took that 90-degree turn and were radicalized very quickly. And while in Africa, you decided to join ISIS and go fight on the front lines against the United States and others and continue to support them. After you decided not to go to the front lines, you decided to provide them with money. Oh, well, I mean, hell, yeah, I guess he didn't, really, is it that big? It's not like he actually fought. He just wrote the checks. You knew that Sudan was trying to hatch a plan to kill service members here in the United States, and you supported that. You went actively looking for that. AK-47, you spent a significant amount of time reviewing the actions of other terrorists here in the United States and how, I want to be clear, these are not my words. These are the words of the judge who reduced this guy's sentence. I'm not saying this. The guy who let him out early said this. Maybe it's time to get rid of qualified immunity for some of these preposterous judges all over the damn country. You spent a significant amount of time reviewing the actions of other terrorists here in the United States and how they had been successful and expressed admiration for their work in killing people. And you stopped when you got caught and were arrested. No shit, he stopped when he got caught. What does that mean? Everyone stops when they get caught. That is the essence of being caught. If you're not caught, you keep going. Getting caught is what stops you from doing the thing you're... From the Justice Department, Jalal pleaded guilty in 2016 to attempting to provide material support for ISIL. Earlier that year, a member of ISIL located overseas, Abu Saeed Sudani, put Jalal in contact with a person in the United States who was actually an FBI confidential source. This guy got 7 years in jail. You get more than that. I mean, not for nothing, but I'm not saying he's a good guy. Okay? Sam Bankman-Fried got more than that. Hell, George Santos got more than... George Santos was sentenced to a longer term in prison than an American National Guardsman who was not born in America, became a naturalized citizen, and then attempted to provide material support to an international terrorist organization. George Santos got sentenced to more time in jail. Are you shitting me? And I'm supposed to take this seriously? Democrats love to point out how Americans are the laughing stock of the world. You're right, it's shit like this that makes us the laughing stock of the world. Because I got news for you. If there was somebody in Sudan or Somalia or Saudi Arabia or Iran or Gaza who decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to betray Hamas and I'm going to go support the Israelis. Do you know what Hamas would do? They would cut them into a bunch of pieces. I'm not saying we've got to do that, but why don't we find a nice middle ground between a suspended sentence of 7 years and, lighting someone on fire? There's got to be a middle ground there. I don't know. As a result, it permits a very significant sentence to deter others because of the nature of the offense itself and the purpose of the Domestic Terrorism Act here and the things that you did to further that. I'm going to sentence you to 132 months of incarceration, 5 years of supervised release, and $100 special assessment. Well, the $100 right there, I mean. That $100 fine, man, that must have really broke the bank of the international terrorist organization that this guy tried to support. $100 fine? The parking ticket at the municipal lot outside of the bar I'm going to go to after the show is more than that. I'm at a loss. I've got nothing. I have nothing. I don't know. What does one do here? A revolution got started over a 3% tax in tea, but we're going to sit on our asses here. I'm blown away. I'm blown away at this. Meanwhile, the mayor wants to tax my uncle for dying. I don't know. I'm flummoxed. I'm incredibly vexed. We got a few more stories that I want to make sure that I get to here because I got nothing. We're going to have some fun as we clear out the rest of the show today because we're going to show you Pete Hegseth making fun of CNN. We're going to show you Bill Maher basically calling Sean Penn a moron. And then we're going to talk about one of the most ridiculous, well, I would say the most ridiculous case, but I think I just read you the most ridiculous case. But it's going to be incredibly graphic in its language, so we're all going to laugh about it. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA.
Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Let's pop the live chat up on the screen because I want to know what you guys want to hear now. Do you guys want to see Pete Hegseth make fun of CNN? Do you want to see Bill Maher tell a guy who hasn't been relevant in 20 years, who looks like a ball sack, that he's an idiot? Or do you want to talk about men in women's spas? Let's see what you guys want. Let's see where we can start with that one. I can promise you, whichever one you pick will not be the funniest one. They're all it's just an amalgamation of funny, the next bunch of stories that we're going to get to. I think, what do you say? You think we start with Sean Penn? Sean Penn, the guy who sucks because he spent most of his life married to the biggest movie villain in history, and I don't care what any of you say about that. More people need to discuss it. Jenny from Forrest Gump is the worst person in movie history. She's worse than Hannibal Lecter. She's worse than Darth Vader. She's, I can't even imagine. She's the worst character in history. And more people really need to talk about it. More people really need to, I think that's got to be like an IMDb thing. She's worse than Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. The worst movie villain in history. So Sean Penn sat down on the Bill Maher podcast, because if there's nothing Bill Maher likes more than having radical communists on his show, Sean Penn was flummoxed at why Bill Maher would ever go to the White House and sit down for dinner with the President of the United States, to which Bill Maher responded with the obvious answer:
I have not been invited. The only reason I would not accept an invitation is because I see no, it's a long flight. And I see no.
Really? You'll meet with fucking
I don't think
Castro and Hugo Chavez, but not the President of the United States?
Yeah, I saw good results come out of some of those things in terms of agendas that I had. I don't think that there's anything that I would. I just personally wouldn't trust anything that was said in the room.
So he'll sit down with Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro because he saw some good things come out of it, but he won't go to the White House. First off, let's be clear, Trump wouldn't invite Sean Penn because, by the way, Sean Penn, what's with the skin? Okay, you look like a ball sack. Like what happens to people in LA that, I don't know, is it good? Like, do you think he looks like a shoe?
I have not been invited.
Like, seriously, he looks awful. You grew up, watching Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and that's what you end up with? I don't see it. But remember, guys, the important people out there. There are important people out there. And those are the pretty people. Those are the ones who, yelling about taxing the rich while wearing a $100,000 dress at the Oscars, they've increased their security over the concerns about Iran's retaliation. You see, because I don't know if you know this or not, but ABC News just made up a story about Iranian drones attacking the West Coast. Just made it up. And nobody in the media thought to themselves, wait a minute, why would Iran attack the West Coast when the East Coast would be where Iran would attack? China wants to attack the West Coast. Okay. Russia, North Korea. Okay. But Iran, they're coming this way. Nobody asked any of those questions. But naturally, the idiots in Hollywood, they didn't notice. So for the star-studded 98th Oscar Awards, which I would rather stab needles into my eyes than watch, according to Variety, There's been a massive uptick in security. Oh, you mean like you're allowed to have cops and officers and federal agents and walls and restrictive tickets that don't allow regular people in, you know, kind of like our border. So you're allowed to have them to protect Conan O'Brien. And I don't know any actors now. You know what? Protect Sydney Sweeney. The rest of them can go to hell. I hope they all protect. God forbid anything happens. I hope Sydney Sweeney is protected. And Margot Robbie. Other than that, you know, be gone with you. So the Oscars are very upset. They're very upset that they're not protected. They're not protected. God, what are we going to do? The level of self-importance in these people is shocking. Is absolutely shocking. We might not have time to go into Pete Hegseth. Do we? Oh, you know what? The hell with it. Here's the last part. Here's Pete Hegseth making CNN look dumb.
They're confused and we know it. Our response, we will keep pressing. We will keep pushing, keep advancing. No quarter, no mercy for our enemies. Yet some in this crew, in the press, just can't stop. Allow me to make a few suggestions. People look up at the TV and they see banners, they see headlines. I used to be in that business, and I know that everything is written intentionally. For example, a banner or a headline, Mideast war intensifies, splashing on the screen the last couple of days, alongside visuals of civilian or energy targets that Iran has hit, because that's what they do. What should the banner read instead? How about Iran increasingly desperate? Because they are. They know it, and so do you, if it can be admitted. Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
I'm sorry, that's just funny. The idea that Barry Weiss is going to be the news editor of CNN it's like a fine wine. Guys, it's Friday. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hannah Faulkner coming up next. She might be ready to go already. Not really sure. But if she's not, make sure you guys sign that petition at the very top, pinned in the message. I really do appreciate it. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. Use promo code RUMBLE, 20% off. You know the spiel. I'm out. Stay loud.